Hi, it's Lee Farnell here, and thanks for listening to Leading Your Best Life. In this podcast, we're going to talk about something that's kind of crazy, but so important in pretty much everyone's life, and that is what we call the come to Jesus conversation. What are you talking about, Lee? Come to Jesus conversation. Stay tuned and wait till you see how important it is. Well, welcome back. What are we talking about when we talk about this thing called a come to Jesus conversation? Well, the reason I'm thinking about it at the moment is because there's, one, some clients I'm going to need to have a come to Jesus conversation with, and two, as a manager or a leader or a parent or a coach in sport or in business, at times you have to have these come to Jesus conversations. Now, what are you saying, Lee? Come to Jesus is not a religious experience. Well, I just Googled to go, well, what are people talking about when they talk about these come to Jesus moments, come to Jesus meetings? Well, they say, they're idioms that began literally involving religious figure, of course, Jesus Christ. But they're used to mean, well, we've got to get you back on track. You're off track. What you're doing right now is not going to work for you, not going to help you achieve your goals. Maybe you're also impacting others as well. And we're going to need to actually get eyeball to eyeball and have a realization, have some enlightenment moment, help you understand, mate, you're so far off track, it's not funny. No matter what your ego's telling you, no matter what your mate or your mummy might be telling you, what you're doing is wrong, off track. It could be someone in sport not training hard enough. It might be someone in sport who's, drinking and socializing too much, or even worse, like in some cases, taking drugs. It's like, no, what you're doing is self-destructive, is not helping. We've got to tell you that truth. So what do we do to do that? Because clearly you've got to have the right relationship and the right ecosystem to do that, whether it be, again, well, we actually had a little business conversation with a person the other day who I literally had already said to this person, you're creating too much drama. If you want to create this much drama, I'm not going to be working with you. Oh, really? Wow, well, gee, like even at that point they took a breath and, well, that's bizarre. What have I been doing? We need a little, no, I didn't say we need to come to Jesus conversation, but we needed to come to Jesus conversation. We needed to say what was going on versus what their hallucination was. Now, at the same time, at times in coaching and in business, you have a client say, I want to improve my business, I want to grow my business, I want to get more leads, I want this, I want that. And you say, sure, okay, let's commit to that. They commit to it in writing, they say it verbally, but over time, their old patterns of behavior creep back because people like to do the things they like to do. So in this case, it's running from one project to the next or running from one client meeting to the next, but not actually doing the things that need to be done if they're going to grow the business. And part of the role of a coach is to say, we need a chat. We need a come to Jesus conversation. I was just watching, I put it up on my Facebook wall, Sir Alex Ferguson, the legendary manager of Manchester United, caught some of his players drinking and misbehaving when they should have been looking after themselves in preparation for a big game. Now, did he just go, oh, they're there, boys, don't worry about it? No, he'd noticed a series of patterns in that person's training and in their behaviour, and this was the moment he was going to have the come to Jesus conversation. Now, Ken Blanchard talks about literally reprimand, not just a constructive coaching conversation, but reprimand, particularly as you need to understand that memory is coded on emotion. So if you want someone to actually change, you do want them to have an emotional moment. It could be an emotional moment around fear or anger or crying, but if you want it to stick, you need to be willing to use emotion. And again, this player talked about the use of Ferguson really right in his face, giving it to him. Now, you can use a range of, and I'm not suggesting you go to the Alex Ferguson, although you may need an Alex Ferguson moment. Maybe we don't call it a come to Jesus. But let's go through 7 key tips to help you have what we might call a successful come to Jesus conversation with a client or a family member or a friend. And as I said, it can be delicate, but it's a crucial part of both business coaching, sports coaching, parenting, teaching. These conversations are typically intended to address a critical issue and or provide some very candid feedback. In other words, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to get back on track, get back on the horse, get back on the path. So here are 7 key tips for conducting such a come to Jesus conversation. Well, first of all, One, you've got to prepare thoroughly. Gather all the relevant information and data before the conversation. So it's like I often say get at least 3 occasions, because if you just talk about once they were late, or once they were messy, or once they did a bad pass, or once they didn't come back and defend when they needed to defend, or once they didn't do a piece of paperwork that was important. Gather relevant information, ideally 3 or more examples of the aberrant behaviour before you have the conversation. You want to clearly define the purpose and the objectives of the discussion. Bob, Mary, Wayne, I want to talk to you specifically about your passing. I want to talk specifically about your punctuality. I want to talk specifically about the way you're communicating with your work colleagues. I want to talk specifically about the emails you've been sending out. Whatever it is, let them know what it is you want to talk about. Then anticipate, of course, potential objections or concerns or emotional reactions from the person you're talking to, particularly because, again, if the bigger their ego, the more they're going to protect themselves and not listen. So you actually do need to handle that, and even we talk about handling objections in advance. Bob, I want to speak, then I'll give you a chance to speak. Bob, let me get this out before you interrupt, knowing particularly because they're going to try and defend themselves. 2, choose the right time and place. So 1, prepare thoroughly. 2, choose the right time and place. Find a private and comfortable setting where you can have an uninterrupted conversation. Now, one of my clients say, mate, the walls down here are so thin. I said, okay, we're going to have meetings outside of this office because there are going to be controversial or even confronting conversations, and the rest of the team do not need to hear those confronting or controversial conversations. So find a private and comfortable setting where you can have an uninterrupted conversation, and choose a time where both of you can be calm and focused. Rather, I've got to get out of here, I've got to go back. No, that's not going to happen. So ecosystem, environment is everything. Prepare thoroughly. 1, choose the right time and place. 2, 3, build trust. So you want to start the conversation by acknowledging the person's strengths and successes. We call this the sandwich technique. Start, so you've framed it, you've framed why you're there, and you've even set some rules around you want to get some information out before they interject. Acknowledge their strengths and successes, what they're good at. Emphasize your commitment to their growth. Mate, I want you to be the best player you possibly can be. I want you to be the best person you can be. I really like you. I want to support you. And then also ensure confidentiality. So what we'd say here is between you and I, it's confidential, it doesn't go anywhere else, so it's the cone of silence. So it's a safe space for open dialogue. So we've prepared thoroughly, we've chosen the right time and place, we've built trust, and then 4, use empathetic communication. So practice active listening. Once you have said what you want to say and get their opinion, practice active listening. Now, another tool that we use here is called the GROW model. G, goal, what's the goal of the session? A goal of what we're looking to take the team or take that person's career, take their skill level. G, R, what's the current reality? What are the current facts? What is going on? That's where you've taken that information, you've prepared thoroughly. And then O is options, and this is where in empathetic communication, you want them to have input, but options are what are options to fix this, improve it, and you get them involved, because we say involvement equals ownership equals commitment. So you want them involved in options, because if you're the only one giving options, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get commitment. So part of all this is then brainstorming and active listening, giving the person your full heart, which means you being 100% present. Show empathy and understanding for their perspective. Look, I can see why you did that, because in most cases, as NLP said, people act with good intention, even if they do crazy or stupid or even dangerous things. In most cases, they're doing it for some reason, which at the time they thought was a good idea, even though in hindsight they might go, that was a dumb idea. Then the ego tries to defend. So all sorts of weird things start to happen. But show empathy and understanding for their perspective and emotions, and use I statements to express your concerns. Avoid accusatory language. In other words, I feel, I saw, rather than you're to blame, you're the stuff up, you. This is how I feel, this is what I think, this is based on my observations. 5, be specific and objective. clearly articulate the issues and concerns that need addressing. And again, sensory specific of what did I see, what did I see and hear, and how did I feel? What did other people see and hear, and how did they feel? What do you want to see? What do you want to see and hear moving forward? How do you want to feel? We use the word feeling language because when you talk about feelings, you're triggering those feelings in the other person. And remember, memory is coded on emotion. You want to provide specific examples of evidence to support your points, which exactly is what we were talking about in preparing thoroughly. You want those specific, I didn't do that. That only happened once. Well, in fact, no, it happened this day, and this day. Oh, wow, you're right. Avoid making generalizations or vague statements. Oh, you always do this. I always hear you saying that. Or vague statements. Well, you tend to do this. No, be specific. And then 6, offer solutions and support. Now, I suggest you collaborate and you co-create the solutions, which is the O section of grow. Collaboratively explore potential solutions to the identified issues. Offer your guidance. Well, look, what I'd recommend, or what I would do is, or what I think might need to happen, or what I think will help you is, offer your guidance, expertise, and even resources. Come and meet with me every Wednesday for the next 5 weeks as we move forward on this. Or look, if you need my office, or if you need my phone, or you need the car, or if you need a budget, whatever it is, offer your guidance, expertise, or resources to help the person overcome the challenges and ensure that they know you're there to support them throughout the process. Mate, I'm here to support you. That's what I'm here for. We want to get progress. Now, what we're always at war with are comfort zones and egos. As we say, egos and comfort zones are the enemies of change because the ego is always trying to make the other person wrong or protect the person. And an ego is based on fear. No, I don't want to show my inadequacies. I want to pretend I've got my act together. I want to pretend I'm perfect. And they'll do anything at times to, they'll be bombastic, they'll cry, they'll throw tantrums. Ego is a very strange thing, or at least, as I say, the ego is as a set of behaviours. So, point 7, establish an action plan, which is W, way forward, a written way forward. GROW, W is the written way forward. So who's going to do what by when? Work together to create a concrete action plan. Who's going to do what by when with clear goals and timelines. We're going to meet each Wednesday. We want this sorted out by the 30th of next month. You want to define responsibilities and expectations for both you and the other person. So what I'll do to help you is I'll come and see you each week, or I'll pop in each day. I'll give you this, I'll give you that. What is it that needs to happen? And schedule follow-up meetings to track the progress and make adjustments as needed. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Accountability, follow-up, support. So let's go through those 7 steps just to help you, because we know by reviewing it helps. 1, you're going to prepare thoroughly. 2, you're going to choose the right time and place. 3, you're going to build the trust, start the conversation by acknowledging their strengths. 4, you're going to do empathetic communication, listening, active listening. 5, be specific, and again, this is using the GROW model, which helps you. 6, offer solutions and support, but you want to co-create those solutions. And 7, establish an action plan, the way forward, who's going to do what by when. And my recommendation then also is, again, wrap it up with finishing with a positive. So you're going to sandwich all of this with a positive. So Bob, as I say, I'm so happy with these 3 key areas. You're great with this, and you're great with that, you're great with paperwork, you're great with budgets, but it's this area of how you actually speak to your staff that's so important, or how you run the meetings, or how you don't run the meetings. But thanks, are you okay with that? So are you glad we had this meeting? What are your overall thoughts about this meeting? Get them to talk about, ideally, what's been the value of this meeting. It's a very important and good question to use at the end of any meeting. What's been the value of this for you? So they're focusing on the value, remembering first and last impressions. They talk about the recency factor. The last thing they remember is the value of the meeting. So remember that the goal of the Come to Jesus conversation is to facilitate growth and positive change. That's where the GROW model is so helpful. Approach it with empathy, honesty, and a commitment to the person's success, whether it be your client, or whether it be your player in your team, or a student in your class, or a person in your team as a manager or leader. But be prepared. as the key point here is, be prepared that the conversation may be emotionally charged, and stay patient and supportive throughout the process. It does take skills. So you want training in this area, you want your managers to be trained in this area, the Come to Jesus meeting, the grow model. It's not just a lecture, there's practice involved. So you're serious about it, leading your best life, leading your best business, leading your best team. You need to know how to have the Come to Jesus grow conversation. Want to find out more? Touch base. We can have a free 15-minute chat. Go to my website, leefarnell.com. I'm here to help you be the best you can be it as a manager, leader, parent, coach. Let's all make a positive difference in the world together. Thanks for listening. Share this around. Do subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. I'm Lee Farnell.